All right, so as Katie mentioned, my name is Peter Erlenbach. Usually we do all these presentations in public. So I added a little intro slide here just so you guys know a little bit about me, who I am, what I do, and what I look like. So similar to Amanda, who gave an earlier presentation on Parcel Fabric, I'm a GIS technician for Macer Consulting. I work with, or I have my undergrad and a BA in geography from Virginia Tech in 2018, and I'm attending my master's at NC State in geospatial information systems and technology. So if there are any Hokies or PAC members out there, go PAC and go Hokies. So my experience ranges from a variety of projects. I have about 7 to 8 years of experience in GIS, starting about from my sophomore year in college. I've worked with Department of Transportation entities, utility and analytical data management, general cartography, and a lot of coding in RStudio coding as well. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about mobile and web GIS. So we have a very GIS-centric crowd today. So there's some terms on here that we're all going to be familiar with, but just in case there aren't, I'm going to go over some general terminology. So we're going to try and talk about COVID as little as possible because I feel like we all have presentations that relate to COVID and it's kind of overwhelming. But one thing that COVID has pushed us to do is we've been moving into an online platform and away from being contained to desktop software. Luckily for us, this great company named Esri has already been moving in that direction for some time and is moving more towards a mobile and web-based environment. And as a result, this allows us to engage our stakeholders, whether they be, the public or client-based, to be included in a lot of decision-making processes. More importantly, this means people don't need in-depth GIS knowledge to engage these platforms. Really all you need to do is have a general understanding of your smart device to pan around and look at the data that you're looking at. So what are maps and apps? My manager, Mike Collodi, has a really great explanation for this. So web map is an interactive display of geographic information. You can pan around, similar to what we look at in ArcMap and ArcGIS Pro. It's a map frame itself that displays data, allows us to perform analysis on it, geoprocessing tools, and a variety of other options. A web mapping app, sounding very similar, includes the web map, but it also provides what we refer to as widgets, say within a dashboard that allow the user to interact with the app and see high-level information, but kind of prevents you from performing, say, a buffer for a very quick tool. So you can't really do those within these applications. So I'm going to skip over the portion where we talk a little bit about Esri, because I'm pretty sure we'll know that Esri is the global market leader in GIS. Really the big takeaway here that you need to look at is that we do work with Esri a lot. And we are silver partners with them since 2017. And what that means is that we understand their software, what updates they'll be coming out with, we work to incorporate within our current workflow, and we sometimes work with Esri to develop new or novel ideas as far as GIS goes. So as we move through this presentation, just a general overview on the left is going to be the app that we're talking about. We're going to go through a couple of them. So we're going to start with our public web mapping application. So maps can be used, as we all know, to share information, answer questions, and interact with data. So a few of these examples can be seen in the slide. One of the ones I like is the recycling, street sweeping, or leaf pickup. So, these questions are often answered by an entity who might receive a phone call saying someone who has moved recently to Charlotte, North Carolina, where I live, and I don't know my recycling schedule. I don't think anyone really likes these phone calls. There's probably a lot of them. So a quick way to prevent them is just sharing a web map. So citizens can go around, pan around these maps, click around their blocks, lots, or even points just to see, when the recycling schedule is coming up, when street sweeping is occurring. Additional information for this is going to be questions like, what is my block and lot number? That might seem like common information to us people that really hammer down on spatial data, but for people like my father, he does not know his block and lot number. So when I showed him Charlotte-Mecklenburg's GIS portal, he took a look at that and said, oh, that's where I am, that's my acreage. The useful information that they like to know. So the big takeaway here is this application communicates with the public in a time where communicating with individuals is very important so that they can make these decisions for themselves. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk a little bit about map services for COVID-19. With it appearing earlier this year, or I guess really later last year, we've seen a need to share information more than ever. Web maps can be interacted with to inquire about local food options, business hours, or even delivery services. Where can I get tested for COVID-19, right? So looking at those health services options. For those of us who have been tested, once you find that testing location, register for a time. You might want to go to another health store, say a CVS, maybe take some pain medication for having that Q-tip shoved up your nose and tickling your brain a little bit. That's something that I did. So these are options that you go through. CVS has a really good portal as well, kind of showing you what areas are available, information such as hours of operation, and kind of the procedure that you go through that just simply allows you to kind of have a seamless process. For the retail stores, we don't really, or I guess restaurants, we don't really eat out as much, or at least I don't. So when I go ahead and look at, to make a decision to go out to lunch or to go out to dinner, I like to know, what are your hours of operation? Do you have delivery specials? Do you offer takeout? Do you offer indoor seating if I want to sit in? These decisions allow you to stimulate the local economy, make sure, you don't have that trip where you go out and you're disappointed by, say, a Chick-fil-A not offering dine-in options. And then additionally, the same for retail stores. All of these vary from store to store. They all kind of offer different services. Some promote coming in and shopping with a mask on. Others say we'll bring it out to you. For example, my bike shop that I go to get my bike repaired is promoting staying outside, and we'll come to you to offer the services that you need and bring things to you so that they minimize the exposure within the store. Moving more towards our focused government applications, certain aspects of government and mostly client information can be incorporated into these applications and really just provide information regarding a lot more specific needs. We can see a couple that have been relevant recently, such as voting and election information. For me, I'm a really big avid runner, so I like the City of Charlotte's Citizen Problem Reporter. With this application, I can see where reports of common traffic issues occur, such as people running a red light, ignoring pedestrian crossing signals, or if there was a recent issue that needs improvement or an improvement has been addressed. So are there open spaces for me around my apartment complex or my townhome to go for a jog without risk? As I mentioned earlier, have vehicles been running those no turn on reds? All this information seems assumed, but putting it into a portal so someone can look at it is helpful for me to make decisions, in a relatively, routine workout. But apply that to other aspects such as voting and elections. What's the wait time? What's the average time for someone to get in and out? What areas are open? And what are they doing regarding COVID? Are they offering hand sanitizing stations? This is all important information that allows people to make these decisions. So as we move through these slides, we're going to cover a couple of these focused applications. So the public notification web application is an example of a focus tool. So this example is unique because it's used internally, not externally, meaning that if you're a government entity, say the City of Raleigh, people within the City of Raleigh will use this application, but the stakeholders or the public within Raleigh won't. So this application allows the user of a municipality to search for the block and lot owners within a certain distance, and as a result, generate a report of maps or mailing lists. This is referred to as a 200-foot owner list. So as you can see down in the bottom left, it provides a series of mailing addresses that we can utilize to ship out, not a map, a letter that will say, hey, we're going to be working on your street. It's going to be happening at this address. You're within 200 feet, so it could impact you. Moving forward, we get to our event calendar. This web app is useful and is a combination of two web apps actually, so we're going to go through those today. The events calendar application is a really elegant solution that allows the user to research events being held in the immediate area. This is useful to disseminate information to the general public at any time, but particularly useful as municipalities start to reopen after COVID has kind of gone away. Well, now it's rising back up, it kind of fluctuates. So it generates tourism revenue for people who are unfamiliar with the surrounding area, and the goal would be to aggregate information within this application instead of duplicate it. So for example, again, I'm just going to pick on myself here. I'm a runner, but I'd like to know where a marathon's being held so I could participate. So I can go through this application, type in a marathon or a race or a festival, and try and pull that information up. But after I'm done with my run, we can see on the bottom right, there's an ale fest in Naperville. I want to know right after my marathon, I want to attend a beer tasting so I can gain back all the calories that I just burned from that run. So this is a really good solution, or this solution creates points for these events and links the relevant information in a configurable pop-up. So essentially, I can plan my events as I go forward, which again is important with the rise of the coronavirus coming through. So that was the first portion of the event, or the event planner. This is the event maps gallery. This is just a general overview of a couple of the events that I mentioned. So the Naperville Half Marathon and Marathon is the one I was referring to. But this allows us to click within a map so we can see all the relevant information associated kind of just in a map or a map frame. So for example, this is the Memorial Day Parade. So this slide contains a snippet of map-specific information, right? We can see the polygon to the left, and we can see barricades in orange and a restroom kind of down off to the southwest as well. In the top right, we can see that configured pop-up. We can see the hours of operation. So if it's right around 2:05 and I have to go to the restroom, that option or that particular restroom does not look like it will be an option for me, so I need to go elsewhere. With the pandemic becoming more long-term, I see this as a way to engage your stakeholders or kind of just the general public to make them comfortable with coming out and interacting with events to kind of increase both tourism revenue, but also more mental health. We've all been cooped up for the past couple of months, so being able to come out in a practical and safe manner is extremely important for municipalities. Additionally, it provides some other information that's not on here, and we can put those in, such as our hand sanitizing station mass distribution areas. More importantly, are we distributing masks, or are you going to bring your own? Where can I park, and what is the capacity associated with it? Everyone has varying levels of comfort with certain groups, right? So for the Memorial Day Parade, if you think the capacity of, say, 1,000 might be too much for you to handle, you might want to find another event for you based on the information provided. So this solution, or this is another simple solution called the Park Locator application, which allows you to filter through parks based on activity. So this is powerful for those of us that like to get outdoors and do things such as fishing, hiking, or bird watching, right? A brief preview into our next slide, there's a more elegant solution, in my opinion, than the Park Locator web application, but this allows you to drill down park locations based on a certain category. For me, I like to play ultimate frisbee, so what areas have fields available for me? Or basketball, baseball. So as you drill down on those points, you'll create a filter, and it'll filter by location so you can see what's available to you. For us in Charlotte, North Carolina, Park Road Park is a big park for basketball, running, and biking. So I could select cycling and basketball here, and Park Road Park would come up as potentially being the closest option for me. As I mentioned, I was going to talk about a little bit more of an elegant solution for displaying parks. So story maps and more recently Experience Builder has become a widely used concept to engage citizens instead of focusing on engaging citizens within your department. So this concept moves beyond traditional GIS and allows us to combine text, maps, and a variety of data into one really stunning display. On the left here, you can see what this is traditionally what Macer Consulting will do, or on the right, I guess. It's just really a kind of a map, so to speak, a story map that shows, you know, what your title page is going to look like, a location, and what do you want in your map. This allows for the contractor, which is us in this situation, and the client to be on the same page, which ends up in saving budget, and you guys know what you're going to get at the end of the day. So this kind of concept allows us to communicate pretty effectively instead of going back with emails. So on this next slide, it's going to move a little bit quickly, but I'm going to try and keep up with it. But it's going to be a video of what our story map looks like for the city of Bethlehem, New Jersey. So this map is going to move down. This is a video. We're going to start kind of showing, you know, spatial information. Where are our parks, right? So we go to the city of Bethlehem, and it shows that extent, which is a polygon. And if you zoom in, you can see, get some general information about each park. So this is the Wild Creek boundary. Moving forward, we get another one. You can see we have those configurable pop-ups that give you kind of general acreage, how big the park is, and what's available. Moving down, you can see each of these points has general pictures that have been taken. In this situation, they were taken by the client and uploaded into the story map. But if you click around the pop-ups, you can see which images are associated with what. So say in particular, you want to go to a pond, you would probably look for a map that has a pond or says, has an image associated with it. But on the right, you have a bunch of text information that's also associated. It can say, hey, this is what we do about hunting within the city of Bethlehem, fishing. One thing we do very briefly pass by that I'll try and loop back on is a story map. So there's a map within the story map. And this map shows you popular areas to go fishing, see bird watching and these general activities. Sometimes for people that, look through these, they don't really get the information they're looking for. So having that map embedded within the story map kind of gives them the general information or the spatial information as to where you can fish and what you can expect from that location. So for me, people use these to get information about what they can do at each park. I've used this with my grandparents from time to time. So there are people that can't exactly get out during this time period because they're high risk. And they find a way to essentially look at it and they kind of gain the experience of the park without actually being there. My grandparents are in Charlotte, so we don't really have time to drive up to, New Jersey or Pennsylvania to go hiking, but they find it as a very interactive experience and they enjoy looking at it. And each time they get up, they log back on and see what's happened and look at other story maps similar, from the Esri template gallery. So overall, this solution is relatively elegant. It allows the community to get engaged. Again, Mike Colodi has a lot of information regarding story maps. He's one of our managers, but he provided an interesting statistic that I always like to share when going over this presentation. So in particular, people on average spend about 30 seconds on a website, but 5 minutes on a story map. So what does that tell us, right? That tells us that people enjoy engaging in these type of concepts and love to learn and get involved with them. So it promotes people to get out, engage that park area so they can get the usage needs and essentially enjoy kind of getting outside. Now, story maps are particularly tied to parks in my mind, just because this is the one example we've used so far, but don't contain your mindset to that. As you can look down in the bottom left, you can see a couple other examples. In fact, Amanda has worked on a story map before that dealt with planning and zoning and showed the historical change between a zoning map from, I don't remember the particular date, but from one time period compared to another. And again, provides to be very useful to the public so they can see what their land was before and what their land is now. So we've talked a lot today about gathering information from the general public, or I guess sharing, sorry. We've talked about a lot about sharing with the general public. What if we want to talk about how we want to gather information from the public, right? So as I mentioned earlier, the city of Charlotte is a great example of this that I often engage with. It's a citizen problem reporter. This application allows people to submit, and this portion is very important, non-emergency information. If there's an emergency, you need to go elsewhere. But this information allows you to report things in this image, such as hunting, illegal tire or trash dumping. In the particular pop-up here, the citizen is reporting tires being dumped, the initials that it's associated by the observer, along with the time and day. So these reports are timestamped and location-based, which provides great insight to each municipality that chooses to use them. Moving forward, again, we want to receive input from the public. This is a great example of the Adopt a Catch Basin program up in New Jersey. So this engages citizens within our stormwater management program. Everyone has hundreds, if not thousands, of catch basins within the city. So how do you monitor all of them in an effective manner? To do, in my opinion, put it in the hands of the user, right? So go out and say, hey, you have something in your neighborhood that you want, decluttered. There's stormwater rolling in the street. Looks like some leaves are puddling that area. Let's get that taken care of. So this user goes ahead and adopts the last known condition and gives you kind of the nickname if it's visible to the public. So this essentially allows you to engage the public and use them as an asset to track maintenance issues. And then you can go ahead and assign a maintenance issue out based on that location to say your work team to go get it taken care of. So that way you aren't running a route or driving through the area looking to see, something might be clogged or routinely this one area gets clogged. So in conclusion, the goal of having a public GIS application has improved the quality of life, promotes local business and the economy, and addresses citizens' concerns more efficiently than an individual ever could or might be able to. Additionally, the bonus for these platforms is that they are available 24/7. So usually a lot of us work 8 to 5 jobs Monday through Friday. So on the weekends, people want to use them. You know, you don't exactly call into a municipality and ask someone during that time period about information regarding an event, but these apps are up with little to no maintenance and can be available to the public to utilize. Additionally, I provided some links here. I know we can't exactly click them through screen share, but feel free to shoot me an email, which will be provided on the next slide, just to get these. In general, they just provide some templates from Esri and other things that we've done as far as address management, which might speak to Darnell from the earlier slide, road network management, and just dashboards in general, or maybe even road closures, which are similar to Waze. And at this point in time, I'm open to questions if anyone has any. And my email is listed here. I know my last name is a little long, but I'll leave it up there for a moment if anyone wants to write it down and shoot me a question.
Well, thank you so much, Peter.
Yeah.
All right. We have one question. Does Esri charge credits to host story maps? How can they be hosted on company servers easily?
That's a good question. I don't know the ins and outs of credits, but I would imagine I can get back to you with that. So can you provide me the name of who asked that, Catherine?
Yep, that is Melissa Jones. And I believe from my experience, if you have an ArcGIS Online account, you are able to create story maps and you don't have to use credits to create the story maps. And Amanda just said, I believe they charge to host the data, but not the actual story map. Yes.
Perfect. That was my understanding as well, but I just didn't want to affirm that, no, you don't have to use credits, and then you go sign up and you have to get charged for credits.
Sure. Don't want to make any promises we can't keep.
That's right.
All right. We have a few more minutes, so I'll give some people a chance to think of any questions if they have any, and put them in the chat or the Q&A. I will make another announcement that the Kids and Community track is up and running. I dropped the link in the chat, and it's also updated on the webpage along with posted tables that are now updated and up and running. So if you want to go talk to people at Orbis Inc. or NC Department of Environmental Quality or Wake County or Cardinal Geospatial, they are all up and running. So just go ahead, go to the event webpage, and you can visit them there.